Captain Emma Carter had spent 12 years serving in the U.S. Army, leading missions that demanded courage most people could never imagine. At just 30 years old, she had already earned multiple commendations for bravery, not because she sought recognition, but because she believed that protecting others was a responsibility, not a choice. Every deployment meant months away from home. Every goodbye carried the possibility that it might be the last. So Emma never complained. After losing both of her parents in a car accident when she was 21, she had only one close relative left, her older brother, Ryan Carter. Growing up, Ryan had always promised to protect her just as she promised to look after him. When Emma enlisted, Ryan hugged her tightly and said, "No matter where life takes you, you'll always have a home waiting for you." Emma believed every word. Over the years she lived carefully. She spent little on herself, drove the same pickup truck for nearly a decade, and invested nearly every paycheck she earned. She eventually bought a beautiful 3-bedroom home in Colorado, completely paid it off and quietly built savings worth nearly $500,000. She dreamed that one day when her military career ended she'd finally slow down, plant flowers in the backyard, and enjoy the peaceful life her parents had always wanted for her. Whenever she deployed overseas, Ryan managed her mail and kept an eye on the house. "I've got everything under control," he'd always say. Emma never questioned him. Family wasn't supposed to betray you. Then came the mission that changed everything. Emma's unit was deployed to a conflict zone in Eastern Europe as part of an international peacekeeping operation. The assignment was expected to last 8 months. 4 months into the deployment, disaster struck. Her convoy was attacked during a nighttime evacuation mission. Explosions lit up the darkness. Vehicles burned. Communication systems failed. Several soldiers were killed instantly. Emma risked her own life to rescue 2 injured teammates trapped inside an armored vehicle before another explosion threw her several feet across the road. When backup forces finally arrived hours later, the battlefield was chaos. Several soldiers, including Emma, were listed as missing in action. News traveled quickly. Military officials informed families that rescue operations were ongoing, but survival was uncertain. When Ryan received the notification, he stared silently at the letter. His wife, Linda, read it twice before whispering, "So, she's probably gone." Ryan didn't answer. Their 24-year-old daughter, Ashley, looked up from her phone. "If she's missing in a war zone." Linda finished the sentence. "She isn't coming back." For a few days, Ryan genuinely hoped the military would find Emma alive. Then greed slowly replaced hope. Late one evening, Linda spread financial papers across the kitchen table. "Emma's house is just sitting there." Ryan frowned. "What are you suggesting?" "Think about it. She has no husband. No children." Ryan looked uncomfortable. "She's my sister. And we're her only family." Ashley leaned forward. "Mom's right. Why should everything she worked for end up tied up in government paperwork? It should stay in the family." Ryan remained silent. Silence became agreement. Within weeks they contacted an attorney. Years earlier, Emma had signed a limited power of attorney allowing Ryan to handle emergencies involving her property while she was deployed. It had been meant to protect her. It became the tool that destroyed everything she owned. Ryan accessed her accounts. Linda convinced him to transfer money, temporarily. Ashley encouraged them to sell investments before they lost value. Temporary became permanent. One withdrawal became another. Then another. Soon they convinced themselves they deserved it. "Emma would have wanted us to be comfortable," Linda said. Ryan repeated those words often enough that he almost believed them. 3 months later they received unexpected news. Captain Emma Carter had been found alive. Seriously injured. Recovering at a military hospital in Germany. Ryan's face turned white. Linda dropped the coffee mug she was holding. Ashley whispered only one sentence. "This changes everything." Ryan immediately called the attorney. "What happens now?" The lawyer answered carefully. "If Captain Carter returns and discovers unauthorized financial activity, you could face very serious civil and criminal consequences." Ryan hung up without another word. Fear filled the room. For the first time they realized what they'd done. But instead of confessing, they made another terrible decision. "We have to finish this before she gets back," Linda said. Ryan stared at her in disbelief. "What?" If she comes home and everything's already gone, maybe she'll think there was nothing anyone could do. Ashley nodded. We can't undo it now. So they sold Emma's house. A young military family with 2 small children bought it, believing every document was legitimate. Within weeks, Emma's furniture disappeared. Her mother's piano was auctioned. Her father's handmade tools were sold online. Family photographs. Military medals. Rebecca's wedding ring that Emma had inherited from her grandmother. Everything vanished. The only things Ryan kept were the boxes containing Emma's military awards. Not because he respected them. Because he couldn't find anyone willing to buy them. Meanwhile, Emma spent months learning to walk again. Doctors told her recovery would be slow. The explosion had shattered bones in her leg and left deep scars across her shoulder. Many nights she wondered if she'd ever return to normal life. Whenever she wanted to quit rehabilitation, she remembered her parents' favorite advice. Character isn't revealed when life is easy. It's revealed when everything hurts. So she kept going. Step by painful step. After 6 months of therapy, doctors finally cleared her to return home. The army arranged her flight back to the United States. Emma imagined unlocking the front door of her home. Sleeping in her own bed. Making coffee in her own kitchen. Maybe even inviting Ryan's family over for dinner to thank them for taking care of everything while she was away. She had no idea. The people she trusted most had spent the last 6 months stealing every piece of the life she had worked 12 years to build. As her plane touched down on American soil, Emma smiled through tears. I'm finally home, she whispered. She had survived the battlefield. She had survived the explosion. She had survived months of recovery. What she didn't know was that the greatest battle of her life was waiting for her at home. Captain Emma Carter stepped out of the airport with a single duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment. Home. 4 months, that word had been the only thing that kept her going through surgeries, painful rehabilitation and endless physical therapy. Every difficult step she took was fueled by the dream of walking through the front door of the house she had worked so hard to buy. She hailed a taxi and gave the driver her address. As the car drove through the familiar streets of her hometown, memories flooded back. There was the small diner where her father used to buy her pancakes every Saturday morning. The park where her mother taught her how to ride a bicycle. The church where her parents' funeral had been held. Everything looked the same, except Emma. The scars on her face and the limp in her walk reminded her every second that the war had changed her forever. But she was alive. And that was enough. Or so she thought. The taxi stopped in front of her house. Emma smiled. Then the smile slowly disappeared. The white fence she had painted with her father years ago was gone. The flower garden her mother had planted had been replaced with a concrete walkway. A different SUV sat in the driveway. Children's toys were scattered across the front lawn. Emma frowned. Are you sure this is 1847 Willow Lane? She asked the driver. He looked at the mailbox. Yes, ma'am. Emma's heartbeat quickened. She walked toward the front porch. The blue front door had been painted red. She rang the doorbell. A young woman opened the door, holding a little girl in her arms. Can I help you? Emma stared past her into the living room. Nothing looked familiar. My name is Emma Carter. The woman's smile faded. I'm sorry. I think you have the wrong address. No. Emma swallowed hard. This is my house. The woman looked shocked. My husband and I bought this house 6 months ago. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her feet. What? We purchased it from Ryan Carter. Emma's knees nearly gave out. Pie brother. The woman nodded sympathetically. He told us his sister had died overseas. Emma couldn't breathe. She whispered, I'm not dead. The young mother's eyes filled with tears. Oh my God. She immediately invited Emma inside and showed her the closing documents. Every signature appeared legal. Every paper looked official. Emma knew at once that someone had used the authority she had trusted Ryan with during her deployment. The woman apologized over and over. Emma gently shook her head. This isn't your fault. She walked back outside, staring at the house one last time. The home she had built. The home her parents had helped her decorate. The home filled with memories. Belonged to strangers now. With trembling hands, Emma called Ryan. He answered after the 3rd ring. Emma. His voice sounded nervous. I'm home. There was complete silence. Then Ryan forced a laugh. That's incredible. Emma spoke calmly. I just visited my house. Another long silence. We should talk, Ryan finally said. I agree. An hour later, Emma pulled into Ryan's driveway. The front yard had a brand new luxury pickup truck. A boat sat beside the garage. The house had been completely renovated. Emma remembered Ryan constantly complaining about money before she deployed. Now he was living better than ever. Ryan opened the front door with a nervous smile. Emma. She ignored the attempt at a hug. Linda appeared from the kitchen. Ashley stood at the end of the hallway, avoiding eye contact. Emma slowly looked around. New furniture. Expensive artwork. Large-screen televisions. Everything screamed wealth. She quietly asked, "Where did all this come from?" No one answered. Finally, Emma placed a folder on the dining table. Inside were copies of the house sale documents the new owners had shown her. Start talking. Ryan rubbed his forehead. When the army reported you missing. They never reported me dead. Ryan looked away. No. Linda crossed her arms. We thought there wasn't much hope. Emma's voice remained steady. So you sold my house? Linda answered without emotion. We needed money. Emma turned to Ryan. My savings. He whispered. They're gone. My retirement investments? We used them. Emma stared at each of them. Years of trust. Years of sacrifice. Destroyed by greed. Ashley finally broke the silence. You weren't supposed to come back. The words echoed through the room. Emma slowly turned toward her niece. What did you just say? Ashley shrugged. I mean, everyone thought you were dead. Emma's eyes filled with tears. So while I was fighting to stay alive, you divided up my life. No one denied it. Ryan finally tried to justify himself. We planned to explain everything. When? Ryan couldn't answer. Linda stepped forward. We're family. Emma laughed bitterly. No. Her voice was calm now. Family waits. Family hopes. Family prays. They don't steal. Silence filled the room. Emma reached into her bag and carefully placed 3 military medals on the table. The Bronze Star. The Purple Heart. The Army Commendation Medal. I earned these risking my life. She looked directly at Ryan. And while I was bleeding in another country, you were emptying my bank accounts. Ryan finally began crying. I'm sorry. Emma shook her head. No. You're sorry because I survived. Those words hit harder than any shout. Ryan couldn't even look at her. Emma picked up her duffel bag. She walked toward the front door. Ryan called after her. Where are you going? Emma paused. Then she answered without turning around. To find someone who still believes justice matters. Ryan's face turned pale. You mean? Emma looked back one final time. I'm going to the authorities. Linda gasped. Ashley suddenly realized what that meant. Fraud. Forgery. Abuse of power of attorney. Possibly prison. Emma opened the front door. Before leaving, she said one final sentence. I survived enemy fire. I won't lose to betrayal. The door closed behind her. Inside the house, no one spoke. Outside, Emma climbed into her truck and drove toward the county courthouse. For the first time since returning home, she wasn't going there as a victim. She was going there as a soldier determined to fight one final battle. And this time, the enemy shared her last name. The morning after confronting Ryan and his family, Captain Emma Carter walked into the office of a respected attorney carrying only one box. Inside were copies of bank statements, military deployment records, her limited power of attorney, emails she had exchanged with Ryan during her deployment, and the documents from the sale of her home. I don't want revenge, Emma told the attorney. I want the truth. Within days, a formal investigation began. Financial investigators discovered that Ryan had transferred hundreds of thousands of dollars from Emma's accounts while she was listed as missing in action. The limited power of attorney had been abused far beyond its legal authority. Even worse, signatures had been forged on documents authorizing the sale of her house. The evidence was overwhelming. Ryan, Linda, and Ashley were each charged with fraud, theft, forgery, and financial exploitation. The news spread quickly through their small town. The neighbors who had once admired the Carter family now learned the heartbreaking truth. that while Emma had been risking her life overseas, her own family had been stealing the life she had spent years building. Ryan lost his job. Linda's business closed after customers stopped trusting her. Ashley's university suspended her while the criminal case was pending. Everything they had gained through greed disappeared almost overnight. Meanwhile, the young military family living in Emma's former home was found to have purchased it in good faith. Emma insisted they should not lose the house because of crimes they had never committed. "They're innocent," she told the court. "They deserve peace just as I hope to have." The judge praised Emma's compassion. Instead of taking the home back, the court ordered Ryan and his family to repay Emma for the full value of the house, along with every stolen dollar, interest, and damages. Much of their own property was sold to satisfy the judgment. Months later, Emma used the recovered money to buy a quiet home overlooking a lake. It wasn't the same house she had lost, but it became a place where she could finally heal. One afternoon, Ryan asked to meet her. He looked older, thinner, and broken. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "Emma, I destroyed the only family I had. Can you ever forgive me?" Emma looked at the brother she once trusted with her life. "I forgave you the day I decided not to let your betrayal define my future," she said softly. "But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences." Ryan lowered his head, knowing she was right. As he walked away, Emma felt no anger, only peace. Months later, she stood before a crowd at a ceremony honoring wounded veterans. As she accepted an award for her courage and service, she looked toward the American flag waving proudly above the stage. She realized something important. The battlefield hadn't defeated her. Neither had betrayal. Because a soldier's greatest strength isn't found in winning wars. It's found in standing back up after life gives you every reason to stay down. And as Emma walked off the stage to a standing ovation, she knew she hadn't just come home. She had reclaimed her life.